you all for being here today to celebrate KASH Patel. And I want to hurry and get him sworn in because I'm the happiest person today ever. All right, here we go. Please place your hand on the Gita and raise your right hand. I do solemnly swear
I, KASH Patel, do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties of the office on which I am about to enter.
discharge the duties of the office of which I'm about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Wow. First and foremost, we were just with President Trump, and I just want to thank him. I know he's not here in the room right now, but what a ride we have been on, what a courageous warrior and leader he has been, and the faith and trust he has put in me to lead the FBI is the greatest honor that I'll ever have in my life. And to General Bondi, that sounds pretty freaking cool. Pam, you're my sister, you're my mentor, you're my friend. You're my boss, and the confidence you have placed in me, I will never violate that trust. The men and women of the FBI will be led under your leadership through one standard, the Constitution. So thank you for entrusting me, Pam.
Hey there, Patriots. This is True Outlaw Patriot coming at you with another one. The clip that I just showed you, and I'm sure a lot of you have heard, KASH Patel has been sworn in as the new FBI director for the FBI. Sorry about that doublespeak. In all honesty, I think that Donald Trump has just picked so many of the right players that he needs in his administration, and quite frankly, he's picking the right people that, in my deepest opinion, I think that this is what this country has needed for a very long time. Okay, there's no secret on the people that he has been picking, how they feel about America, its people, and the corruption that has been plaguing all of us. Okay, all of us, even you people on the left. If you think that everything was fine and dandy when your people were in power, you won't even admit to the fact of how many things they did that basically affected you also. You just wanted to keep going on with that narrative that the Biden regime was pushing out. But as always, regardless of all that, even with Trump picking out KASH Patel, and he just got nominated, the left, they're just not liking it. And more so because, just in case no one has heard, they just made Dan Bongino the deputy director of the FBI, which, in all honesty, I believe over a year ago I had made a video or two talking about that, not saying that he would be the FBI. I've always voiced my opinion that he should be in charge of Secret Service, but I also would throw in the fact that, he has a lot going on. He's got a big podcast going on Rumble, amongst a few other things that he's doing. But it seems that he's taken the job, And this has the left stream media, mainly MSNBC so far, because I think people are still numb of just Kash Patel getting nominated. It has them in a frenzy. And this is what the deep state is fearing, and they're going to keep continuing to fear the most. Having Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, okay, basically taking out the trash. And I tell you one thing right now, as an American, if this does not, if this doesn't give a sense of a not a sense, but a bigger sense of hope that things are going to get cleaned up, I don't know what can. Because, I mean, listen, we got Donald Trump. That's great. We've been waiting for it. I mean, thank God. You know, I'm telling you right now, is like one of the best things. But all these players that he's bringing in, and having two people like Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, who have been very open about their distaste and their distrust with the Department of Justice, having those two bulldogs, okay, go and basically take over the FBI, we're gonna see. How can I say? We're gonna see the roaches scattering when the lights are turned on. Let's just put it that way. But let's listen to what Donald Trump has to say about Kash Patel's nomination. Here we go.
I can't speak too badly about him. I better be careful.
If I could, sir, just ask you about Kash Patel, who's going to be sworn in soon as your FBI director. Talk to us about your reaction to him getting sworn in, and the fact that many agents across the country are concerned that they will be fired en masse for simply just doing their jobs.
No, I think the agents are very happy about Kash. In fact, the agents led the charge for Kash. One of the reasons I loved Kash and wanted to put him in is because of the respect the agents had for him. I think he'll go down as the best ever at that position. And it turned out he was very easy to get approved. You know, I was not sure. He's a tough guy, strong guy. He has his opinions, and I wasn't sure. He turned out to be he went very smoothly. I don't know if he's in the room now. He's going to be in the room very shortly. Where is he? Oh, good. I'm saying the right thing. I have to be careful. I can't speak too badly about him. I better be careful. You know, I will say this about Kash, and Howard understands this. One of the reasons that I wanted him is because the agents love this guy, and they respect this guy, and this is what they wanted.
And you know what? Trump is right. Okay, the mainstream media and all these leftist pundits and whoever is against Donald Trump, basically, they're gonna stick to the role and to the dog whistle that the agents in the FBI didn't want Kash Patel. The only ones that don't want Kash Patel there and Dan Bongino there are the ones that are afraid that they're going to be exposed for all the corruption that they took part in. Plain and simple. So something tells me there's going to be a lot of FBI agents that are going to be fired. And one can only hope that if any of them are deserving of going to prison, that's exactly what's going to happen. Or anybody for that matter, for all the corruption that we've seen in the past 4 years. Because to tell you the truth, Biden may have pardoned Mark Milley and Pelosi and whoever else, his family and all sorts of other people, but there was no way that Biden was going to be able to pardon the whole Department of Justice, okay, or half of it, or whatever the case is. And this is why already the mainstream media, they're against it. And this is you're going to hear these attacks. It's going to keep on. We already know this, especially about Dan Bongino. I mean, it's already started, like I said, with MSNBC talking down on Dan Bongino as if he's just some, run-of-the-mill, guy off the street. They won't even give him credit where credit is due. Some of these news reporters, I can't even call them news reporters, these talking heads on MSNBC. And it's a shame. It's a shame because a lot of people don't like Dan Bongino. I get it. For what reason? I don't know why. I mean, I think he's a straight up bulldog. But it's like, you know what? if Dan Bongino and of course Kash Patel, if they have not shown the American people that they're probably two of the biggest Boy Scouts, and they just want things done right, they want people to be held accountable regardless of what side you are, because they want equal justice for everyone. I don't know who else you can pick. All right. But, leave it up to the left to all of a sudden. I mean, they have not stopped since 2016. Let's just say 2015, when Donald Trump decided to run for presidency the first time. They just have not stopped. They find something wrong in everyone and just belittle everyone. There is no pleasing these people. And to tell you the truth, I find it hilarious. And I, for one, I am so gleeful inside. And my answer to them is, you know what? Be afraid. Just be as afraid as you want, because more of the truth is going to be exposed with all these people that Donald Trump has brought into his administration and surrounded himself with, basically. But let's listen to, before I continue, I just want to thank all my new subscribers and all my subscribers here on YouTube and on Rumble. So don't forget to comment, like, share, subscribe, pass the channel around. And if you can help support the channel, there's a link in my description to my Cash App and my merch store. I'm going to play a quick video by MSNBC. And then there's something I want to show you before I get to a video that I want to play of Dan Bongino, of what he had to say about being asked to be part of Kash Patel's FBI group. Let's get to it. Here we go.
Another headline from last night is that President Trump announced that former Fox News personality Dan Bongino will be second in command to lead the FBI. This is the latest in a series of Trump's controversial picks for high-profile law enforcement roles. Trump named Bongino as deputy FBI director yesterday. To note, that job is traditionally held by a career FBI agent. In fact, it's believed this is the first time a political appointee got that post. He is a former Secret Service agent and NYPD officer, though he has never served in the FBI. As a pro-Trump podcaster, he has advanced a number of baseless theories about the bureau he is set to lead. The appointment does not require Senate confirmation, but it's already receiving real backlash. Here's how one former FBI official reacted to Bongino's new role, saying in part, quote, "This is really concerning. Any hope that Kash, meaning Kash Patel, the FBI director, could be steered by having experienced leaders around him is out the window. We now have two conspiracy theorists and election deniers running our premier law enforcement and intelligence agency. That is beyond problematic." And Caddy, Bongino is repeatedly on his podcast calling for the dismissal of any agent who had anything to do with some of the Trump investigations, including the lawful with a warrant FBI search of Mar-a-Lago that turned up all those classified documents a couple summers ago. But he's also cut from the same cloth, it would appear, as Kash Patel, a true loyalist who embraces really sort of fringe beliefs about the deep state, about law enforcement, and about enacting retribution in the name of Donald Trump.
Yeah, this is the man who during the Kavanaugh hearings said, "My entire life right now is about owning the libs," and seems to have carried on that proposition throughout his career. He has wide influence. He's got one of the top podcasts in the United States. Millions of people follow him. The Agents Association, the FBI Agents Association, had actually wanted a career agent. They'd wanted somebody who'd been an active FBI agent to take this position, but they clearly have been overruled. So between Kash Patel and Bongino, you really do have two. I'm trying to think of another agency where you have two such Trump loyalists at the very top in positions 1 and 2. And of course, the impacts of that then on law enforcement. We've already seen the breakdown of the firewall between the Trump White House and the Justice Department. The FBI will play a critical role in the implementation of whatever it is that Donald Trump wants to have done in terms of law enforcement.
Wow. I have to laugh. I mean, there's so much to unpack on that little video right there. I'm just going to pick one thing, okay, because it's just too much. And for sake of time, I want to keep this video a little short. It's funny how she says about Trump hiring 2 loyalists, okay? And the other reporter came out and read from an FBI agent that left a comment. Okay, the first one of this woman saying, first of all, she said Dan Bongino's name wrong. She called him Bonino. okay, which is wrong, but I mean, it's not surprising. She says about it's the first time or something to that effect that Trump is hiring, two people that are gonna basically what she's trying to say is gonna be on his side. Remind me if I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. Whatever the case is, isn't that what Biden did? Didn't Biden surround himself with people that were going to do everything he wanted? Isn't that why we've had such a mess the past 4 years? Because Biden basically picked and chose whoever he wanted. Let's just pick one person, okay, that he wanted to be in the spotlight, okay? How about that military guy, Levine? Okay, what about him? What about who was the other guy that was in charge of again? I think he was part of some part of the government that had to deal with with the military, something to deal with nuclear part of the military. The bald-headed guy with all the red lipstick on his face. That was somebody that Biden hired. Or how about Karine Jean-Pierre, another little lapdog that was supposed to be the first black, lesbian, whatever, blah, 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 reporter. Biden surrounded himself with all the people that he thought would make his administration look good, as opposed to surrounding himself with people that will help his administration, and not so much as his administration, but to help serve the American people. Something none of them were capable of doing. Many instances, none of them were qualified for any position that was given to them. But everything was fine with the media with that, because he was virtue signaling to the minority population in America that wanted to be virtue signaled, plain and simple. And then for the guy to come out and put out and read the statement of what somebody in the FBI said, that Dan Bongino and KASH Patel are conspiracy theorists. It's not a conspiracy anymore because of Donald Trump hiring Elon Musk, more truths are being put out in the open. He has investigated more with his young team of superheroes than we've probably seen in this country in the past 20, 30 years. In what, a little over a month? And a lot of the things that KASH Patel and Dan Bongino have always spoke about, one thing in particular was about the deep state and the spending that nobody knows about. All that's coming to light. So for that FBI agent, whoever he is, to come out and refer to KASH Patel and Dan Bongino as conspiracy theorists, it's not conspiracy anymore. They're just afraid, okay, that they're going to be losing their jobs because they were part of the conspiracy. They're part of the deep state. They were part of, let's forget about Biden's regime. A lot of these people are there 20, 30, maybe 40 years. Who else were they doing the bidding for? If I had to guess, Obama. That's just a given. And maybe Bush from way back when. I'm just throwing it out there. And that's why the corruption is so deep-rooted. And Trump doesn't want anybody from the inside, because who do you trust from the inside at this point? Best to bring somebody that has the know and has the heart, okay, to put America first and its people first, than putting their overlords first. But that's what the left wants everybody to think, that Trump is putting people in his cabinet and to surround him just to do his personal bidding. Some of that, I'm gonna put it this way, about 20% of that is true. But the personal bidding that he wants is for them to go find out the truth. Okay? So like that they can fulfill what the other 80% is, and that is bringing the truth to the American people and bringing law and order back and getting rid and dismantling the deep state. As opposed to Biden and Obama, what they wanted to do was just take from the American people, vilify half the country, and just lie to their half. That's basically what it boils down to. But with that being said, I'm going to get to the next video clip real quick. We're going to get to what Dan Bongino has to say, but also in between that, there's something I got to show you guys really quick, and it's basically a call to action. But let's get to the next one. Here we go.
To direct the day-to-day functioning of the agency responsible for preventing and investigating terror attacks, responding to mass shootings, investigating international drug cartels and gangs, thwarting cyber attacks, and arresting violent criminals and investigating public corruption, among other things. Donald Trump has tapped a podcaster and right-wing media personality who once said this, quote,
I love the way she says a podcaster and right-wing media personality. Never mind his career as being Secret Service, serving in the NYPD, none of that. This snake of a woman, I'm telling you. Oh, in case anybody heard, Joy Reid lost her job. She's out. I mean, these news stations, they're just losing. But I just thought I had to throw that in. I just think it's rude the way these people on the left, they just keep referring to people they don't agree with. They give them no respect whatsoever. But I guess all's fair in love and war. But let's continue.
my entire life right now is owning the libs. That person is named Dan Bongino. He will be the deputy director of the FBI, the number 2 at the country's top law enforcement agency. It is a job that does not require Senate confirmation. Not that Republicans have had any objection to any of Trump's picks anyway. But if you're not familiar with Bongino, here's a small sampling of the things he's had to say over the years.
Trump is an apex predator. He's the Lion King. Trump went out there tonight and did what Trump does. He's the shark in the ocean, and he acted like it. He lost no one from his base. No one.
Shame on us if we don't enter the legal profession and start to pull people out of the DOJ. I have no problem with Donald Trump investigating Jack Smith either, and you shouldn't either. Jack Smith doesn't have a pardon.
What happened yesterday with President Trump and the targeting of him and his attorneys by this piece of human scum, all of these people targeting him in the Justice Department that have forfeited any semblance of allegiance and fidelity to the constitutional republic. I do not need power-drunk pseudo-monarchs, little mini tyrants in my supposedly conservative county, though, sending out ridiculous, childlike amateur hour edicts demanding people wear masks in situations where the risk of transmission is somewhat close to zero. You can take your mask mandate and shove it right up your
The karate man, I never thought I'd have to use it in real life.
All right. I just had to play that. You know, Dan Bongino has been so adamant about where he stands, and this is something that the left, they just can't stand it. You know, I'll bring it up one more time. The way this woman, okay, on MSNBC refers to him, does she not know? And don't take my word for it. If anybody has Rumble, go on to Rumble and do the math. Okay, nearly, and I only say nearly, but on average, if you put it all together, you add all the views to his videos and divide them, Dan Bongino is averaging about 1 million views per video. This is just one man on a podcast like they're saying, far right, you know, conspiracy theorists. Can any one individual person on MSNBC say the same thing consistently without lying? Without lying to the people. Okay, because that's basically all they do. All they do is put stuff together. They send one shill at a time, or they'll ball them up 2 or 3. And most of the times, just like CNN and the rest of them, they're lucky if combined 2 or 3 of them doing a show, they can get 1 million views. And it's not only that he gets 1 million views, a lot of his content is an hour and a half. Besides all the the far left lefties out there that are watching MSNBC, nobody even gives them, what, maybe 20, 30 minutes per episode, and then besides that, they wind up switching it over. That's why they're in the tank. Just like CNN, in the tank. Joy Reid, in the tank. Rachel Maddow, in the tank. Don Lemon, in the tank. All of them just keep dropping and dropping and dropping. And it just seems like the ones that are left, they're going to keep pushing it. It's like, have you not learned that you're losing? You all said the same thing about all these people that are conspiracy theorists, that Donald Trump's a racist, that all these people on the right are crazy and deplorable or whatever the hell is. But yet, our base keeps growing, getting good positions, while your base keeps falling. Think about that. Let's listen to Dan Bongino a little more, and we'll get to the next one. Here we go. I don't know what he's doing here, but...
Guess. Reminds me of like the House Meeting. Remember Guess Who's Back by House Meeting? Geraldo's back. He wants to fight me again. Why does this guy always want to fight me? Why does everybody always want to fight Dan Bongino?
All right, I'll leave it at that. He's going to make me laugh. But anyway, I just want to show that little bit of clip from MSNBC. It's just crazy. We're going to get to him, what he has to say on his last podcast. I believe it was earlier today. But there's a quick call to action I just want to bring up, and we'll get to that. Here we go. Okay, people. This is my call to action. But before I say anything, just to answer Dan Bongino's question about why does everybody want to fight Dan Bongino, it's simple. When you're right and you're exposing the truth, everybody's going to want to fight you. Everybody that's wrong, and he should know this by now, and I'm sure he does, and everybody else does also. The more we put out the truth, the more people want to fight us and shut it down. And I'm going to use that, which I didn't make this up. I mean, I just thought of it right now, as my call to action on this one particular video that I put out. I put this video out, Time for Peace, a few days ago. Okay? Now, once again, I'm very upset with how this video was pushed out because I only got 32 views on it. Okay? It was only pushed out 514 times. Okay? But by far, okay, my retention is way above typical. This is probably one of the better videos I've put out. It's not a long video. I mean, it's got, for a video that's only 39 minutes long, it's got, earlier today, it was at over 20-minute average, people watching it on average. Of course, there's been a couple of, maybe two more. It was at 30 this morning. So that average goes down a little bit. But even when I try to leave messages to people that left comments and I try to reply to their comments, leaving my opinion on what's going on with Russia and Ukraine and what I feel about Trump and Putin, those comments on my part were deleted. As soon as I sent it, deleted. Okay? Which tells me that for one, for people on the left to always talking about that they're the peaceful side, the peaceful party, that we're the destructive side, there is nothing in this video that I say, okay, that goes to instigate any harm to be done against Ukraine. It's actually the opposite. Agreeing with the fact that, you know what, that Trump and Putin need to take the reins on this peace deal and end this war in Ukraine. So my call to action is this, people. Okay, and I know I've made a couple of videos like this before in the past. My call to action is this. If you truly care about peace, and I'm sure all of you do, okay, do me a favor. Watch this video. Watch it tonight after this video I put out. Watch it tomorrow. Pass it around. I'm just tired of videos like this that have a very high retention rate. They don't get pushed out. And it's as if the left does not want to talk about the peace between Ukraine and Russia, or that Trump is trying to do deals with Vladimir Putin so they could bring peace in that region. It's as if they want the angst to continue so that war continues. And I, for one, have said it once. I've said it many a times. I've always said it. I am against war. It doesn't mean I won't defend myself or this country. No. What I'm saying is, in this day and age, you could only go but so far to make your point across when you're using the military. At some point, it has to stop. But it just seems for some odd reason, okay, this is something that's all over the news, on social media and otherwise, this situation between Russia and Ukraine. You would think a video that I put out or somebody else to try to explain a little more in depth of what's going on and what should happen, which is that the war should end. You think that content will be pushed out more, but obviously not. Obviously not. Anyway, that's my call to action. Let's get to what Dan Bongino has to say about him being accepted into the FBI. Here we go. Or I should say, being asked to join KASH Patel in the FBI. Here we go.
I want to play this for you first because the Bongino Army out there and all of our supporters, you guys and ladies out there have been amazing. And one of you sent this to me, and a friend of mine sent it to me as well. And I gave this speech at the Heritage Foundation 11 years ago. And it was about good people stepping up. Not just me, it's not about me, it's about a bigger vision. I want you to listen. It's about a minute and a half of it, but it's worth your time. Check this out.
We can fix it though, folks, and I think it's going to take some good, passionate people going forward. And I think it's going to take more people to speak out. I think right now there's a crisis of internal leadership. I think people during a recession are afraid to leave, but I speak to people all the time on my cell phone, on the inside, who are just as frustrated as I am, whether from the military or anywhere else. And I think it's going to take just a tidal wave of people speaking out to really create some effective change.
This is really hard for me, folks. I hope you understand. We spent a long time building this. Me, my wife, Guy, Michael, Justin, Jasmine, Evita. My wife and I started doing this show, and it started in a basement. It was me, Joe, and Paula. That was it. We started doing the show, and Paula was putting together show clips for me. We never expected it to become this massive live stream and podcast and radio show. We never expected it. I knew you guys were going to be there for us. So to walk away from it, yeah, it's not easy. And getting like money and all that other crap, that doesn't gives a damn about any of that stuff. We'll figure that out later, but I'm not going to tell you as an audience what's been one of our just bedrock principles of this Bongino army out there and this people, the massive audience we've had. What's one of the bedrock principles, right? The do matters. We've talked about the do. You can talk all you want. I tell you all the time, I don't feel like I have a real job. I don't feel like, I feel like you guys are the ones out there getting your hands dirty. The truckers, the cops, the pilots, the architects, the men and women in our military. I appreciate everything, but if the do matters, I'm not going to sit here as a commentator, talking head, whatever dopey title we have. I'm not going to sit here and tell you the do matters and then sit on my ass when an opportunity comes to do the right thing. And
I want to cut in real quick, people. I agree with him 100%. 100%. Okay? I don't think, in all honesty, I don't think that he could have seen this coming. Now, who knows? Maybe this was something talked about before, but the way I see it, let's just say, okay, that Kamala Harris would have won. He'd still be on this podcast. doing what he has to do. Exposing the deep state, keeping people informed, spreading awareness. Okay? Because the way it looked for some time, I know I did, and a lot of people thought about it, even though we kept up our prayers, we stayed prayed up. I know in my head, I was like, there is really nothing stopping the left from stealing an election, or this particular election. Okay? But when you have people out there like Dan Bongino and others, Tucker Carlson, Dan Bongino, some of the big names, okay, and the smaller content creators, and just people in general that put out awareness, it keeps the people informed for them to say, you know what, we can't give up. We have to keep going. You can't get some information and just pass it to your next door neighbor or to a family member. This is something you got to keep spreading. You got to make sure that people are well informed. You got to make sure that the information you're putting out doesn't stop at the first person you give it to. This is not gossip, what these guys are putting out, especially like Dan Bongino. He's putting out information out there for people to better their lives. So for anyone to come to him and say, listen, we know you have a big thing coming, or you have a big thing going. We really need someone like you, because there aren't that many people out there that are willing and that have shown and proven how much you love this country, you care about the people regardless on what side they are, and you're being called to duty. Okay? And I respect him for that. I truly do. I mean, again, in my opinion, what better person to go out there and do the job than a person who has worked for both sides of the aisle? Literally. He worked for Obama as Secret Service. He worked for Trump as Secret Service. Whereas a person like Mark Milley, the traitor that he is, worked for Obama and Trump, I believe. Well, he worked for Trump, but I believe he came from Obama, okay? And he chose basically to just badmouth the president and then to get a blanketed pardon and want people to think that he's innocent. Whereas Dan Bongino did his job and left, okay, said what he had to say about his time in service in Washington, decided to go about his business, start his own podcast, but he always kept it straight. And now he's being called, and he has to shut everything down. I don't think, obviously, it's not going to be forever. I mean, I'm sure as soon as his time is done, he's going to want to come back to this, or who knows? Well, I guess that there'll be a conflict of interest, so he can do it. But I commend him for what he's doing, and I agree with him. He was called to take part of something very big. And I think that his character and the way he stayed consistent in his stance, I think that's why Kash Patel and, of course, Donald Trump has something to do with it, I would think, that they probably got together and said, we got to call Dan Bongino in because we need certain people to take care of certain things in this administration, and we need the right people to take on the task that a lot of people can't take on. There's really nobody out there. I'm not going to say there's nobody out there qualified, but I just think that Donald Trump knows who he's surrounding himself with compared to the last time when he was taken for a ride. But let's continue.
And not only talk about everything we wanted to change, but actually change it. There are a lot of people listening today. And I hope you understand that. I want to address something too. I know, New York Times and others, of course, are all of the attack pieces start already, which is fascinating from these two who were on the wrong side of the truth when it came to the collusion hoax and others.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they understand what it's like to commit to service, not partisan service, but service. I get it if you were a political opponent of mine that has been involved with proudly celebrating a weaponized justice system, how you don't understand how a guy like me who discusses partisan content in an opinion show can go and do a unquestionably nonpartisan job. I'm going to ask you a simple question. Have you seen what I did before I came here?
Exactly.
I'm committed to service. People play different roles in their lives. People are dads. People are soccer coaches. People are cops and military officers and military enlisted people. People are carpenters. People are plumbers.
Carpenters.
We play different roles in our life.
There you go.
And each one requires a different skill set.
Got that right.
I've been there. I know what this is like. And it's time for me to step up. Folks, I have to thank my family first, though. You know, most of you know Paula. Paula's been with me a long time. Folks, we met, I don't know if you know the story. It's certainly not my autobiography today, but we met just a couple of weeks before 9/11. I mean, an actual couple of weeks, like 2 weeks before 9/11. My second date hadn't even happened with Paula, and she worked at 120 Broadway, which is the building that looks right into the World Trade Center right there. She worked for a company at the time called SIA. The 9/11 attacks happened. I had only been on one date with her. We barely knew each other, but I knew I was in love. So I called her, and she didn't answer the phone. I thought she was dead. I did. I panicked. I thought she was dead. I couldn't believe it. I said, I just met this woman. Well, it turned out we'd just been on one date, and she was actually in Nevada. Her mom lived in Centennial Hills in Nevada. Actually, Summerlin, I think, back then. And she was out in Nevada. I couldn't believe she was alive. But we met 2 weeks before the most devastating terror attack, one of them in American history. That was an event we all scarred us forever.
You got that right.
I was an agent watching that. We've been through a lot together. We've been through the Secret Service. We've been through the President's detail. We've been through cancer. We've been through some health crises with her. We have 2 beautiful daughters, one in college and one younger one still in grammar school. We've been through 3 runs for political office. We've been through the launch of a podcast 11 years ago, and everybody laughed at us. They're not laughing now.
Mm-hmm.
They did. They actually laughed at us. Oh, podcast? That's cute. What happened? Can't get a real show? We lived through all of that. We spent our last $10,000 on a microphone and some mixers in the basement of our house in Maryland. Paula's always been willing to take a chance on me. Always. She said on her first date that she knew I was something special, which I didn't think I was anything special back then, but I guess she did. She's been busting her ass all weekend. Why? Because there's going to be a major transition. It's not going to be the last show, but we've only got a few more left with you. So obviously we're going to be working with a team of people to make this transition from me, political commentator Dan, to Deputy Director of the FBI Dan. Those are different roles, require different skills. Skills I have and have used before and I plan to use again. It's going to hurt to leave you. I'll discuss over the course of the coming days. I'll be with you for a little bit longer on radio and on my show. I will discuss exactly what's going to happen. It's not going to impact Evita or Haley's content at all. My wife has been running the business for a long time. I don't get involved with the business at all. I do the talking. But I want to ask you, Who's next? Who's next? This isn't just about me, folks. The do matters. Who's next? You know, I said last week, and a couple of media critics commented, I said, we're all going to have to take it on the chin a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Now, do you see what I meant?
Exactly.
I never got in this for the money or notoriety. Listen, I enjoy making money and that I can impact people's lives and that people come out and say nice things to me as much as the next guy. But if you think that's why I got involved in this, running as a Republican in deep blue Maryland, my life of activism and my time in the Secret Service, if you think I get into the Secret Service to get rich,
Yeah.
and you don't know me and you haven't seen the government salary scale.
Tell that to the Democrats.
But I am going in this clear-eyed. Vision of President Trump, Attorney General Bondi, and Director Patel. I am going to do my job to implement that vision. And I can tell you right now, we are going to try our best. Every single thing I have in me, every single strand of DNA cell in my body is going to be dedicated towards keeping this homeland safe, no matter what. No matter what, that's my job. We're going to reestablish faith in this institution. The good people there doing their job, hitting the streets, developing sources. We'll have your back. We are going to reestablish faith in this institution. The FBI belongs to the American people. Doesn't belong to me. Doesn't belong to anyone else but the American people. But this is the honor of a lifetime, and it's a serious mission. And I plan on implementing that vision. Folks, there are a small number of people out there in the country right now dedicated to doing really bad things. It's not the overwhelming majority of Americans are patriots that love this country and love their family. They love their jobs. They go to work every day. But there are a small number of really bad people out there who are planning on really bad things, from terrorists to narco traffickers, child sex rings, gang members. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not going to rest easy until we find as many of you as we can. Don't sleep, no, after today. But that's my mission.
There you go.
Folks, of course, the Constitution matters. We're going to get back to the four corners of that document that guide us all as well. And I think you know from my history of covering content here that the primacy of that is really important. You understand that? It is the one thing that dictates all the rest of your actions, and that's the Constitution. Again, regarding the show, folks, going forward, I will tell you how we're going to wind my portion of the show down. And I'm just going to leave you with this before I get to some other content. And we've got a couple more. We've got some shows for you lined up. So I actually put a show together, even though it's been harder than I thought. I didn't plan on this. I didn't plan on a lot of things. But I want you to know it is the honor of my lifetime. And I hope I'm making a plea to you all personally. I hope you're not angry or upset at me for making this decision. I knew it was the right thing to do, but there is a big cost, and I understand that. There's a chance when the mission's over that you guys all disappear and go somewhere else. I'm not going to lie to you, it's been on my mind for a long time. I hope not. I love you guys, but this is a mission I can't say no to.
There you go, folks. And you know what? In all honesty, I don't think he's going to lose. He's probably going to lose some, but I really don't think he's going to lose his base. And I say this for one reason and one reason only. Well, two reasons. Number one, because of who he is, what he's put together, and how it grew, and the following he has. Number two, even though he's not going to be on the podcast and doing all the shows and stuff, he's still going to be on everybody's mind, knowing that he's going to be part of the FBI. So his name's going to come up a lot. Okay, so it's not like he's going to do a job where nobody's going to hear his name anymore. That's why I think that regardless, for the next 4 years, okay, he's gonna be, his name's gonna be out there, and people are gonna know that and be waiting for his time to be up, and people are gonna be very interested, in my opinion, because now I'm gonna be very interested. Never mind the content that he puts out, but I'm gonna be interested going forward of what him and Kash Patel are going to bring out into the open. So my hat's off to him. I feel bad for him. I feel, I feel where he's coming from, but I think it, like I said, I think it's a good call. I commend him for walking away from something that he's built so big, and not just him alone, but his wife and his family and friends. And I'm sure that they all understand. He's been called to serve a higher purpose at this point. It doesn't mean that it's gone. I think this is a really good move. And if anybody, like, in my opinion, if anybody stops, like, doesn't, let's say after he's done and he comes back, if you don't follow him, then you never really were a fan, in my opinion. Me personally, I'm gonna be more than anxious if he, after he does his tenure with in Trump's administration, I should say, with the FBI, when he leaves and he comes back to do podcasts, I'm gonna want to watch it even more to find out, what the ins and outs were while he was being the deputy director in the FBI. I mean, because God only knows what stories are going to come out. And he's put out a lot of content on his career before the podcast. While on the podcast, I should say, before he started, he talked about it a lot. So one could only imagine what new stuff he's going to be able to come out with and put out to catch everyone's attention. And it's going to be interesting. And I think that he should keep his base, and I'm sure that he will. Like I said, the small percentage that are going to stop, there's going to be different reasons. But if you're just going to stop because you think he's a sellout or whatever the case is, then you know what? You never really truly stood for what this man stood for. Okay? That's just the way I see it. But anyway, hope you like the content tonight. Hope you like the video. Don't forget to comment, like, share, subscribe, pass the channel around. And if you can help support the channel, there's a link in my description to my Cash App and my merch store. Again, if you guys can help out with that call to action about the other video that I put out, that'd be great. If I can get those views up, maybe it'll kick in the algorithm to push out that video a little further. And remember, like Dan Bongino said, who's going to be next after he leaves? Who's going to be the one to take the reins? I mean, content creators and podcasters come and go. What he's doing is he's doing it for America. Okay, so who's going to be the next one? That I'm not going to say there's going to be able to fill his shoes, because nobody is. But how many content creators are out there now that are going to be willing to speak just as candidly and freely as him? I mean, me, I try to do my best, but obviously you see the way they treat me, and I'm a small content creator. Hopefully someday I can get a following like him. I mean, he's put out the best content out there. That's why he has such a big following, as opposed to other people, Tucker Carlson and some of the other, big dogs. But I think that everybody should watch the last few of his shows, show him a lot of love and support, and stay tuned, because if he's going to be in the FBI, I can only imagine how many times he's going to be in front of a microphone explaining to the American people of crimes and of criminals that they're uncovering and arresting. So it's going to be pretty interesting. So remember, people, stay vigilant, keep praying for each other, keep praying for the women and the children, pray for this country, pray for your enemies, pray for Donald Trump, pray for Dan Bongino and his family, and don't forget to pray for all the missing children that they brought across the border. Peace.